In 1957, Nkrumah joined ILO. Nkrumah took Ghana to the ILO. And we have been there since. And Ghana remains one of the countries that have signed the biggest number of conventions. And so you can see and feel rights in Ghana compared to other countries. And so this year, ILO is celebrating its 100th anniversary. So 100 years of ILO, Ghana has benefited. So it's another reason why we should be happy this year, because as soon as Nkrumah joined, Ghana joined ILO in 1957, between the time Nkrumah took Ghana to ILO and the time he was overthrown unjustly, we had signed 35 conventions protecting the right of workers to form association or to join a union they want, the right to collective bargaining, the right to equality of treatment, and then to abolish child labor, forced labor, and many others to protect the workers on the sea, on the land, in factories, in offices. And then in 1958, there was an act to protect us further, to sort of domesticate the conventions. And then in 1965, there was another one, which was an enhanced one, so that they can allow public sector workers also to negotiate their conditions of service. And then 2003, we got another law, which was not so good, but we had to, compromise and get it passed.
Some will say that as stock we marketers day, would you say that the unionized worker today is quite satisfied with its conditions of service and the collective bargaining agreement and all the rest, or you think it's a work in progress?
It's a work in progress. I like that. Because you see, humans, the way we are created, when you improve something to a certain level, you get used to that and you want it, you want more. So I would say that since 1957, Ghana joined the ILO to today, we have seen some progress. If you compare the situation now with the situation before independence, where the colonial powers were in charge, compare working conditions, where you didn't even have the right to negotiate, where, especially in the mines, where people were dying like flies, compare that to now, things have changed. So in terms of conditions of service for formal sector workers, thanks to the unions and the aggressive nature of the unions, things have changed. We also attribute what we have gained very much to Kwame Nkrumah's CPP. I told you a minute ago that 1957, as soon as we attained independence in March, Ghana became a member of the ILO. Then the Nkrumah government ratified, in the 10 years that he was in power, 35 conventions to protect the interests of workers. Gave the TUC that headquarters there, just so we can get organized. So the support we got from CPP and Nkrumah were enormous. And all that together have contributed to the rights that we enjoy today.
Look, let's look at the last 20 years, some will say, in modern day economy, and some will say that in terms of what employees and owners, business are demanding from workers, some will say that we have not seen a commensurate improvement in the conditions of workers. Do you think that in that area there is still a lot to be done in improving the conditions of service of these workers? That's what the last 20 years, which is more current, to ensuring that people are taking home a living wage.
Yes, even if you want to be more current, you can talk about 5 years or 10 years. 20 years is not that current. But I was just trying to let you know that whatever you see today has origins in the 1957s when we joined the ILO. And I'm saying so because ILO now is 100 years. So this year is a very special year for us. Now, if you compare our conditions, and I don't want us to see conditions as if it's only salary. You know, there's a tendency for people to think that...
So that's what they take home, actually.
No, that's not the only thing.
Okay.
There are, if you go to some workplaces, their salary may not be as high as they want, but they have housing, they have transport, free transport, they have other conditions, other benefits, cash, non-cash. They support their children in school. So even though your salary may not be as high as you would have loved, the company takes care of your children in school, even up to university, if you go to the mines. So salaries, yes, but the other conditions that come to enhance your life, it's not only the salary. So if you look at it totally and more comprehensively, the way I'm looking at it, you will see that, yes, quite a number of people, thanks to the unions, have had their lives improved. But we still have millions of Ghanaians working in the informal economy, and their conditions are not too good. People are working in very appalling conditions. Health and safety standards are very, very low, and their salaries are low. You still have about 50% of people in the working age in Ghana getting less than the minimum wage, which is about $2 a day. So we still have a lot of problems. So how do you call it? Living wage, yes, but we haven't gotten there yet. I think there is so much work to do to get there. We started a process in 2007, employers, government, and organized labor, working towards negotiating minimum living wage, moving from minimum wage to living wage. Minimum wage is paid to the worker, and the interest or the needs of that worker is considered in determining minimum wage. But living wage goes beyond that. It takes into account the worker plus the spouse plus 2 children at least. So it's a bigger thing. We worked it out all right, but at some point the employers disputed it, and then they said we need to include productivity as an important index or a factor in the formula. And that is where we are until today. So yes, we have a long way to go in terms of living wage, achieving living wage. We also have a long way to go in terms of productivity, because our country should grow, and that is how we can get jobs for everyone. Not only just jobs, but also decent jobs. So yes, productivity is key for any growth to occur, and quality growth. And as we grow and become a middle income country, we as labor expect that our salaries and our other conditions of service will match that status of middle income country.
Do you think the workers are getting decent work at work, or you think
quite a few Ghanaians have decent work? According to the ILO data and research, about 70% of Ghanaians are vulnerable workers. They are vulnerable because they are not very sure what happens tomorrow. You have over 60% of Ghanaians in self-employment, people selling things on their heads, around the streets, everywhere. These are very vulnerable people, and that is not decent work. Decent work has 4 features. The first feature is that you have decent income from your work, what we call labor income. That is one. Employment is secure, so your income is also secure. That means that you have permanent job, and if you want to leave, you leave voluntarily. That is not the situation for many Ghanaians. So we have a long way to go if you take that pillar number 1. Pillar number 2, social protection. Out of 13 million Ghanaians who are eligible to work, just about 1.5 million have access to social security. That's not good enough. We are talking about just about 12% of Ghanaians who, when they retire today, can claim some social security. That's not right.
Why are they not getting it?
You have to contribute to social security. The system you have in Ghana is contributory. So on that second pillar of social protection, we are still excluding many people. If you look at the social security law, if you are employed, your employer pays part, you pay part. But if you take the third tier, which is designed for informal economy, it's voluntary. So hardly will people who earn less than $2 a day will go and put something for the future, because they are thinking about today or tomorrow. 40 years down the line is very remote to them. So there must be, the law should compel people to and government should make efforts to have a proper social policy which can cover these people in terms of access to pension. So that is the second part of decent work. The third is what we call the right at work. All the rights that we talk about as labor is, first, your right to form or join a union of your choice. Many workers are not allowed to join unions. If you go to some of the telecom companies, big ones, no unions. In some of them, there were very strong unions, but once the company was privatized, union died naturally. The policies they adopt to run is profit-oriented. In fact, let me say supernormal profit-oriented. And they see workers as a cost instead of assets. And that kind of human resource management strategy is killing many jobs and reducing all what the union has fought for, since unions were formed many years ago. So that third pillar of rights at work is a problem. Even when the workers have the right to form a union, and they do form the union, the employers don't want to sit to talk to them and negotiate with them. They drag them to National Labour Commission, they drag them to Labour Department, some they bring them here. And you can see the frustration. Some workers who have joined the union, who have signed to join, and who have joined formally and they have been issued their certificate, are frustrated because the employers are not ready to even sit with them, to talk to them. The last pillar is what we call social dialogue. If you are a worker, you have the right to sit with your employer to discuss your conditions of service. As I said a minute ago, many employers think that they still have that slave mentality that you work for me, do as I wish, don't come and negotiate anything with me. But this is not right. This is our country. And the law must protect the workers. The law we have, the labor laws must give adequate protection to workers wherever they are working. And that is our aim, to push this. Ghana, we are a civilized country. And anybody who wants to invest here must be ready to follow the laws and the rules governing employment.
You think that the laws are not protecting us very
enough?
Well?
No. Our laws are weak.
How do we get around it, Doc?
We have to review the law. You know, the current law was passed in 2003. We have implemented it for 2003, it's about 15 years now. And we have detected a number of weaknesses. We have already made a case at the National Tripartite Committee that the law has to be reviewed. The chairman of the committee has asked us to bring proposals. So we are going to submit proposals in a few weeks' time, because we started working on it in January. We will table it for us to start the process towards review. For example, in the mines, in 2018, from one day to the other, nearly 2,300 workers had their conditions of service worsened. Their permanent status as employee was changed to fixed-term contract. This should not be allowed. It's not right. And you just needed Labour Department, some officer there to sign that, go ahead. That's not right. If you are going to change permanent contract to casual or fixed-term contract, and it's going to affect 2,000 people, I think you need somebody who is higher on the scale to say why. And the law says that when it happens and you want to declare redundancy because you want to reorganize or rearrange your business, you need to sit with the union to discuss how you can minimize the effect on the workers. The law, in some part, are quite protective, but in some areas, no. So we have to review it. And we are starting that process soon. We are hoping government and employers will support us to get it done properly.
Oh, the economists who say, and that's your space, that all other things being equal,
nothing is equal. Economists deceive themselves. That is because economists talk about theory more than practice. That's why they say ceteris paribus thing.
You're an economist.
I am, but I am a practical economist. I'm not a theorist.
And when are we hoping that this review could see some face?
We will table it soon, hopefully because we are going to the ILC, International Labour Conference. That takes 2 weeks. As soon as we come back, it's going to engage us for the next half year. We are hoping that by the end of the year, we have tabled it and hopefully it's in Parliament or something. The parliamentary processes are quite long, so we will do the best we can, make our proposals, send it to the minister, And we have already pointed out a number of things. The number one on our proposal is how to protect jobs. But at the same time, we have to make the law friendly for job creation. Because you can't just protect the few who have decent jobs and leave the rest outside the gate. So we have that in mind as well. How to make things easier for investors to hire more people. At the same time, protect those who have jobs.
But one would say then, and being a labor person as well, some would say that even the conventions and all the rest, what has happened to those independent actors who are supposed to ensure that these laws are respected?
Who are the independent actors?
Maybe let's say supposed labor commission.
There's a National Labor Commission. When you have disputes, they are there. And the problem they have, we have some institutions that are very important in labor administration. Labor Department. Okay, let me start from the top. Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. Labor Department. Factories Inspectorate. National Labor Commission. Fair Wages Commission. These are key institutions. But my brother, if you look at the conditions in which these guys, who are supposed to make sure other people's conditions are improved or are properly monitored, if you go and see the conditions in which they were, you know that they have been neglected. But it's not just by chance. Since 1984, when Ghana went into IMF, and that's why I always talk about IMF, and you are laughing already. IMF made sure that we have a new law, and that new law is supposed to be friendly to free market, including free labor market. And so all these institutions that are supposed to be resourced to monitor conditions of service, conditions of work in enterprises across the country were denied the resources to do that. So you can see, Labor Department, which used to help people to get jobs, can no longer do that. Why? You can go and check. They have no budget. If you look at their budget, it's nothing. I mean, even the Ministry of Employment was, at some point, Minister of Employment was not a cabinet minister. And it's not by chance. It's a whole design thing to make sure that they treat labor as commodity. They treat labor market as if it's a commodity market. That is what IMF wants. But thank goodness, we already had some benchmarks that they could not dismantle. And one of them is the strong trade unions in this country, which protect the interests of workers. You know, people may not see it, but usually when you have something, you don't see the value until you throw it away. If there were no unions, our conditions would be worse than whatever you can think about.
Do you think that this free market economy policies and programs and even the IMF have contributed to the sorry state of labor?
Oh yes, definitely. First of all, they facilitated the change of the law, and now you have so many unions springing up everywhere, including some of these unions who decide that they will not even join any national union. They want to stay at the enterprise. If you're a union and you are a small union and you stay at the enterprise, I can assure you that you'll be a weak union. Management, they have all the resources, they have all the knowledge, they can hire all the lawyers, they will control that union. You have to join a national union to be strong. So IMF did all that and staffed these institutions of cash. They promoted the Ministry of Finance to become a kind of senior ministry against all the other ministries.